All right, so here we are. It's the 20th of the month again, and we're working still with the writing prompt, what parts of me might I love more fully? And we just did that today and worked in the studio a little bit. Um, and we worked it on the first as well. So,
Right.
yeah.
And maybe some of you also worked it. Um, and so we were curious about if we came back to the same writing prompt, what what else is revealed, what isn't revealed again. And so that is how we work today in our studio session.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we had the thought to, sort of compare the first from today's. And for me, it was quite interesting because the first one I did was I took it very literally, and what happened was my physical body parts that I could love more fully, which is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either. My belly, my eyes, just things that weren't working that day probably quite well. And yeah, I had a whole list of those. But today, I actually feel like I might want to read just the first part that I wrote. Um, what parts of me might I love more fully? The resistive parts, the human parts, the parts that know I should be doing certain things in my life to make living easier for my body and mind, but go ahead and stray from those things now and again, because I am human and I'm not perfect, and that's okay. Yeah. So,
And I have to admit, I think I wrote you last night about the prompt and said, I have some resistance to it. I've already done it once. Why do it again? Um, Wanting that, a new prompt to work into. And I am glad I found some willingness
mhm.
to stay with it. This one that we had offered on the first, like you, my the first one I wrote, it was my body parts, my hips, lungs, brain, heart, legs, feet, all of me. Um, Much shorter. Um, the tone of it was much more um, kind of demanding that I love parts of me more fully. Today, I had started with my soul, my essence, my meanness,
Mm.
um, and kind of go on. That it is a challenge to love those parts of me, particularly as I'm aging and really experiencing that in my body right now.
Mhm.
Um, that my energy wanes, my patience also wanes on those days where I don't feel good. So my ending is what surprises me. Because when all that feels like it's falling apart, it's easy to stray away into my swamp of existence and wallow. And so the last sentence of my writing today was, wow, could I love my swamp? It's rich with soul nutrients and humor and me.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So it is very, and now I'm looking at the page too that I worked on. And honestly, it was 2 years ago. I'm back. It's 2 years that I was on this page 2 years ago. Um, and so much of it is really, I put on the first line of the poem I'm working on in it, ready for a surprisingly simple challenge, too big to face on your own. And then the last part of it that I read to you the other day is over here, beauty, beauty, don't be afraid to face the world.
Mm.
So it's funny how much the struggle I get into about not wanting to do the same thing over and over again. and wanting something new, and not wanting to work with something I have a reaction to or a resistance to. And what really can open up in us when we move towards that instead of sort of searching for the new thing or the not an old, that I don't know, that place we live in where we discard things so easily.
I agree completely. I mean, I'm resistive to that, and yet if there's one thing that doing this practice has taught me is that when you do come back again and again, first of all, it's a mile marker. You see how you've grown. And second of all, I mean, there are different layers to it. It's so nuanced. There's just every time is going to be a little different. And
Right.
opening up to that and being available to that. I mean, and then that can pour out into our daily lives, like, oh, to this walking trail again, or oh, making this again. But it's not, it's a different experience every time.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and to think that 2 years ago I started this page, and whatever we're writing about today is part of it. I mean, it's this, we're not, just because we get a new prompt and we turn a new page, it's still our fingerprint. We're still in it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the part I have the hardest time, the good, the bad, the ugly, the incredible, the miraculous. And maybe that's the part of me that I have struggle loving fully, is for all of that to come through. And that is what I like about the art. It is a place that I can do that, and so in that way, the work we do also, it feels like such a deep integration to me of loving all my parts fully.
Oh, yes.
So,
Well, yeah.
I guess in parting, what I would like to encourage people to do, if you missed writing about using this prompt on the first of the month, go back and use the Jumpstart video to work with it and to get you going in the studio and see what happens. And in the next week or so, and then let it rest. But in the next week or so, come back to it and work it again and see what has shifted for you. It is quite a magical, once you get over the hump of your own wanting something different, wanting something new, there's something that really can open up. It's quite magical.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say too. It's a rich ride for sure.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I guess that's it for now, and we'll see everyone back on the 1st.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.